Hey guys, Angus here bringing another Airsoft review today. Today we're going to be taking a look at a gun brought to you by a fairly new company on the Airsoft market and just recently added to AirsoftStation.com. We're going to be taking a look at the APS M4 CQB Electric Blowback AEG. If you want to get technical, this is the ASR 103 model. If you're interested in purchasing this gun after watching this review, link down below in the description to AirsoftStation.com where you can purchase this gun for about $164. With that being said, let's get into this review. For starters, let's open up the packaging and see what's included when you purchase the ASR 103 from AirsoftStation.com. The box your APS M4 will come in is a very flashy box covered in this bright red coloring. You have a sticker over here indicating which model of the M4 you purchased, this being the ASR 103, and a large picture of APS's logo, which APS actually stands for Accuracy Pneumatic Shooting. Let's take off the box top, take a look at the packaging inside, and when you take the box top off, here's what you should see, with the exception there will be a gun inside, of course. Just took it out for review purposes, and the gun is actually packaged surprisingly well. It is held in by these nice cardboard sort of triangles here, and you actually, in order to get the gun out, you will have to remove the cardboard pieces and then slide small cardboard strips out in order to remove the gun. But inside the box you do have your APS M4 manual. This is for basically all APS's M4 variants. It's a pretty standard manual. Just tells you how to do some pretty simple stuff. It does tell you how to take the gun apart, just the simple parts, take apart the two receivers. But honestly, it's a decent manual. You'll have a fairly short jamming rod, since this gun does have a pretty short barrel. There will be a large box labeled accessories containing a small pack of about 100 or so APS BBs. I wouldn't recommend using these. These seem kind of crappy. Then there'll be a 300 round high capacity M4 magazine for your APS M4. And of course your APS M4 Electric Blowback Airsoft AEG itself. Now, first impressions, first taking out of the box, I was a little bit shocked by the gun's external quality. Considering it is a budget M4, I haven't heard the best stuff about APS, but when I picked it up, I honestly felt quite a bit of metal on here, and it felt very nice in your hands. Now, another thing here, I'm someone who's used to holding full-size rifles. I don't really purchase guns that are this short, made for CQB. I don't play CQB. But honestly, I thought it felt very comfortable. I was expecting, oh, this thing's not going to be comfortable at all. It's too short for my long arms. But it felt very, very comfortable in my hands. So if you're someone who's used to playing field, maybe it's time to try a shorter gun out and give you a little bit better maneuverability out there. So let's go ahead and hop right in here on the external construction of this gun. External quality, as I said, feels very, very nice. Quite a bit of metal on this gun. Upper, lower receiver, those are constructed of metal. 300 round high capacity M4 magazine is constructed of metal. Top 20mm rail is constructed of metal. Your rear sight is constructed of metal. The stock's buffer tube is constructed of metal. Your RAS covered handguard is constructed of metal. Your flip-up front sight is constructed of metal, and the metal on this gun is actually very nice quality. It doesn't have too much weight. The gun's not too heavy, considering it is shorter. You don't want this big, heavy gun weighing you down in this short little thing. It probably weighs in around the 5-6 pound area. Plastic components on this gun, of course, include this big, ugly orange flash hider on there. You might want to do a couple aftermarket upgrades, get a nice black one on there. And the pistol grip on the gun is constructed of a texturized plastic, as well as your stock back here. Your rear sling mount is also constructed of plastic. So the plastic pieces on the gun, they're very limited, and the plastic pieces on here, they aren't, cheap plastic. They're a very, very solid ABS or polymer component, and slide around very nice. Everything's pretty sturdy on this gun. No real wobble on it at all. The handguard does wobble a slight bit. Stock is pretty solid. A slight bit of wobble there as well. But otherwise, it's a very, very sturdy gun. Now, we're going to go ahead and do something a little different here. I've never done this before, but you'll notice there's a chrono going on down in the corner of the screen there. So you can see how hot and fast this gun is shooting. Now, feet per second wise, we saw these internals taken out at 350 feet per second, and rate of fire wise, you're getting around the 650, 700 area. That's the one con about this gun. The rate of fire isn't all that great. Internally, you get a metal version 2 gearbox, which, with your M4s, you get the version 2, and some people don't like version 2 gearboxes, but I'm not really going to focus on that. What I'm going to focus on is this is an electric blowback rifle. That means bolt moves back each time you pull the trigger. Electric blowback looks cool. Awesome feature. Very loud, makes the gun very, very loud, but unfortunately it is attached to the piston on this gun, which means you run the risk of stripping your piston. Not always the best thing to hear, because you don't want to have to take this out there. You don't want to have to be shooting it around, all of a sudden your piston strips. So what I would recommend is you do disable the blowback on this gun. Apparently the blowback isn't all that secure. Apparently trying to disable it, you can actually just break it. But I'd recommend you disable the blowback. It is directed from the piston, and rather than run the risk of your piston stripping, I disable it. But if you like the blowback, I think it's a cool feature. I've never owned a blowback M4 before, so I thought it was cool, but make sure if you don't want your piston to strip, disable the blowback. Let's move on to some features of the APS M4. Now, one of the main features you do want to know, of course, before you get in the field, is how to put the battery into your M4 RAS. Now, the battery is stored in the gun's handguard, and battery space in this gun can be looked at as either limited or plentiful depending on what type of battery you use. The gun is especially suited to fit nunchuck or butterfly type batteries. A battery is not included with this gun, however there is an option on AirsoftStation.com. Include a battery, costs you an additional $20 or so, and this is the battery you'll be getting. It's a 9.6 1200 milliamp nunchuck battery. This did last me all day when I use this gun in the game, as you saw in those testing videos, and it's not a bad battery, so if you want a nice battery that fits in here, extra 20 bucks will get you this battery. In order to put the battery in, first thing you want to do is you want to pull the gun's delta ring back. This will cause the bottom of your handguard to come off. Here it is, constructed of metal. Set it to the side, and this will reveal your gun's wires and small type connector. Now, not exactly going to squeeze the battery in here at the moment, but how you put the battery in and why these batteries are so well suited to fit in is because the sides, you can fit both halves of the nunchuck in there, and they sit perfectly. At that point, you connect your small type connectors, tuck all your wires in here, get it all tight, nice and snug, and slip the bottom half of the handguard back on, and your battery fits in perfectly. However, if you did want to fit a bigger battery here, it does have the side rail, so you can put on the PEC box, which will allow you to fit a bigger battery, higher voltage. But the cool thing about these nunchuck and butterfly batteries, you can get them that have 2300 milliamp in them, so they should last you quite a while. But if you were to do something with that, put a higher voltage battery in here, I'd highly recommend you disable that blowback so you don't go ahead and strip the piston with a much higher rate of fire. In order to put the bottom half of the handguard back on, make sure all your wires are tucked in. Put this up here in the front. Pull the delta ring back and allow the handguard to slip back into place. At that point, release the delta ring and your handguard is on, secure. There is a tiny bit of wobble in the handguard, but nothing you can do. Your battery does fit snug if you use those nunchuck or butterfly type batteries. Now onto some of the gun's actual features. Of course, you got your fire slider switch. This is located on the left side of the lower receiver, and it's your standard dial found in most of your M4s. When it's facing towards the front of the gun, your gun is on safety. Trigger cannot be pulled. Flip the dial upward so it's facing towards the sky. The weapon is on semi-automatic. Fires 1 BB each time the trigger is pulled. Flip it all the way to the back, facing towards the shooter. Weapon is on full auto, released a burst of BBs when you pull the trigger. This fire slider switch does require a small bit of force to move, and it's not going to be slipping around on you at all. Another nice thing is that the settings aren't painted on, they're actually etched into the body on both sides of the gun. Fire slider switch is not ambidextrous though, however, like I said, the etchings are on both sides of the gun. This isn't the fire slider switch, it's going to be sliding around on you. Another nice feature of the APS M4 is this nice sort of trade right here. You got your APS logo here, it says Special Rifle, you got the caliber round of the M4, and a unique serial number. This is painted on with a nice white coat. It seems to smudge a little bit down in this corner, but otherwise I think it should stay on there if you maintain the gun and take care of it. The APS M4's magazine is another source of some grievances from some airsoft players and other airsoft reviewers out there, considering the magazine that comes with and other magazines are using it. The magazine well is not too tight. Incredible amount of wobble with the magazine. In order to eject your mag, simply push the magazine ejection button located on the right side of the gun. Push in, magazine will come out like so. Here's your gray 300 round M4 high capacity magazine. I kind of think the gray clashes with the black of the gun, but no need to worry if you think that too. You can just pick up some spare M4 mags, guns compatible with M4 magazines. I ran some King Arms mid-caps in it, didn't have any feeding issues with those. I did have one slight feeding issue with this high cap where the magazine locked in but it wouldn't feed, and after moving the gun slightly the magazine simply dropped out. Although it felt secure, the magazine wasn't in, so make sure you give this a good smack. Make sure it's locked in and feeding. Standard high cap, load it to the top, holds 300 rounds in its reservoir here. You'd wind at the bottom, BBs would feed through the top and into the gun. As you can see, already quite a few scratches on this magazine. Paint doesn't seem too great on the included magazine. And like I said, that one feeding issue, but that wasn't with the magazine itself, it was with the mag feeding into the gun. Like I said though, main con of this mag, very, very wobbly inside the magazine well, but it is compatible with other M4 mags, and in order to fix this problem, a quick thing of electrical tape or felt should do the trick and stop that wobble. The gun does have your standard M4 LE collapsible stock. Nice feature for comfort. You can extend or shorten it. Right now it's at its shortest position, tucked right up against the gun, but if you wanted to extend it or shorten it, simply push this piece in right here, and the stock will slide out. You can set it to all these different positions here. This being the second shortest, move it back slightly, slightly. It almost locks into pretty much every position until finally all the way at the end. There's a slight bit of wobble when it's all the way out, but otherwise it's a pretty sturdy stock. As you can see, seems to want to move forward a little bit, make sure this piece is down and not stuck up in that position where it's going to be sliding around. Stock is constructed of plastic, and as you can see, you do have a metal RAS rail back here. Go ahead and put a grenade launcher on that. Grenade launcher right next to your ear. He gets close to you, pull that trigger and take him out. The rubber butt plate on here is actually removable. When the stock's extended, you can pop this off and you'll see the buffer tube is hollow. So if you were going to keep this extended the whole time, I don't see why you could store a few things in there. Maybe, you know, maybe one of those tiny speed tubes full of BBs, maybe some cigarettes or something. It's a rather small compartment, but you could hold something in there. Butt plate is a little bit tough to get back on. However, I'd recommend keeping the butt plate on because it does add a little bit of comfort on there with a nice serration, helps grip on your BDU. I like the stock because now I'm not stuck with this very uncomfortable short gun. I am capable of extending it. If this had a full stock and it wasn't movable, I don't think it would be as comfortable as a gun. So I do like the collapsible stock, which is something you won't hear me say too often because I do care for full stocks over the adjustable stocks. Moving upward on the gun, you do have your weapon's iron sights, front and rear flip-up sights. These can flip down if you wanted to put an optic on your nice 20mm rails up top here. I did put an optic on this gun. It had a little bit nicer time than using the gun's iron sights, which are half decent. Your rear sight is a little flimsy. It seems to want to fall down quite a bit, but once you have it up, unless you accidentally knock it, it should stay up. It has two apertures, your open hole and your pinhole aperture. As you can see there, when you push against it, it seems to want to fall back a bit. Maybe there is a piece to lock it in, but apparently it's missing on this gun. You can adjust this sight for windage by simply turning this small gear here, and if you wanted to remove the rear sight, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. It's simply screwed on. Unscrew this screw, holding it on. Rear sight will fall off, and you can go ahead and put a nice optic on there. Your front sight is a flip-up. Does have the adjustable sight post. If you had the front sight post adjustment tool, order to flip it up and down, simply push in this button located on the gun on the sight's left side. Push in, as you can see, your sight will fall right down. In order to flip it up, don't have to push the button in, you can simply flip it up like so. As I said, iron sights are decent. Of course, you do have this nice plethora of rail up here. I recommend you put a nice optic on here. And of course, we've already seen it. You have your RAS covered handguard, rail interface system. 20mm rails cover this handguard. Since this is a gun designed for CQB, this is a situation where it would be practical to put a grenade launcher on that bottom rail. Really clear some hallways in those games. You got your side rails here. Like I said, one can be used to mount a PEC box. The other you can put a nice tactical flashlight or laser on. And you do have a nice top rail up here for whatever you wanted to put up there. But I like the RAS in the gun customization. Always a plus on your Airsoft AEG. This is an electric blowback AEG, meaning that the bolt will come back each time when the dust cover slips down. You'll see the bolt. In order to access your gun's adjustable hop-up unit, you got to pull your charging handle back like so, and as you can see, the dust cover will flip down, and there's your bolt. This gun is supposed to have a working bolt catch, but it doesn't really want to function. As you can see, and this gun doesn't even function, and for those who get it to work, it pretty much works half-assed. The bolt catch on this gun is not good at all, so you really just got to hold it back and adjust the hop-up. I found the hop-up unit on this gun to be really effective. I gave it a couple twists and turns, got it right in the middle, and this gun was really accurate. I was hitting targets up to 130 feet on the shooting test, and in an actual game, probably around the 120, 130 area again, because that's the extent of the field we were playing on. But bolt catch on the gun is a piece of crap. Hop-up unit isn't that bad. Alright, so we pretty much covered all the features. Going to wrap this review up now. Try and keep this conclusion brief. Just going to go ahead over some of the cons you'll experience with this gun and also who I'd recommend it for. Cons on the weapon: the bolt catch is a piece of junk. This one doesn't even function, and the other reviewers who've taken a look at it say it doesn't work very well. BlowBack's attached to the piston, so you do run the risk of stripping your piston. I'd recommend you just disable it, or you can go ahead and keep it on there and just throw a new piston in when it strips. Battery space on the gun can be viewed as limited or plentiful. Glass half empty, glass half full. It fits these nunchuck or the butterfly type batteries very, very well, but it does have a nice RAS here to mount a PEC box and a grenade launcher on there if you wanted to. The stock on this gun has a little bit of wobble to it, but otherwise it's pretty secure. The buffer tube is hollow, so you can house whatever you want in there if you peel this rubber butt plate off. Has a nice tactical rail on the stock. Magazine, very wobbly in the well, had one feeding issue with it where the magazine felt secure, but it really wasn't locked in place. Fire selector switch, not that hard to move, but not smooth enough to move that you just simply push against it and it'll switch settings. Got your nice sort of trade on the left side of the receiver here, APS's logo, caliber of the M4, and a unique serial number. And honestly, if you were looking at purchasing this, if you're on a budget, you're looking for a nice CQB M4, I'd have to say get it if you want to. APS is a sort of new company, so we're not exactly sure what to expect from them yet. Some of their guns have been not so great, such as their M4A1, and some of them like this aren't that bad. I used this in a game, and I really liked it a lot. The only thing I didn't really care for was the magazine being so wobbly and stuff. The stock really doesn't bother you too much when you're in the game, and neither does the handguard. The battery fit in there very well. Battery's not included with this gun. Got your flip-up iron sights in case you don't want to put an optic on here, but since you have all the rails, I'd recommend you go ahead and customize this thing out. Shooting around the 350 feet per second area, this is a great gun to take into CQB. It's the perfect size, and for having such a short barrel, I'd recommend you put a Type 4 in there, because already this thing's hitting targets pretty consistently at around 130 feet, and the hop-up unit was pretty daggone nice on the gun. So besides the crappy charging here, a little wobbly mag, a little bit of wobble on the stock, and blowback being attached to the piston, this is honestly a decent M4. Interested in purchasing it, link down below in the description to AirsoftStation.com where you can purchase this gun for about $164. So with that being said, this has been Death Cray Airsoft's review of the APS M4 CQB. Thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe.